Good morning, students. Today we're working on 2.07 Unit 2A test review. So the first question is a solving question. It says, what is the value of x? So go ahead, pause the video and try to solve this on your own. All right, let's go ahead and check out how you did. So remember, copy, paste, put your line down the middle. We have x's on both sides. So immediately you should think about, what do I have to do first? We have to move the smaller x. So we have 2x, 3x, so we need to move the smaller, which is 2. So we have to do the opposite, which is subtract 2x from both sides. Okay, then we're left with 3 equals 2 minus 3 is 1x, or you can just put x. Okay, either way works. Then we need to get rid of the minus 4. We're going to undo that addition subtraction. So we have to add 4 to both sides. Okay, so 3 plus 4 is 7 equals, and then remember that's x, or 1x, or just x. And that's your answer. So x equals 7. So we're going to start looking at review problems today for your test coming up on Monday. The first one, it says, Semele won 40 super bouncy balls playing horseshoes at her school's game night. Later, she gave 2 to each of her friends. She only has 8 remaining. Write an equation for Semele's bouncy balls in terms of F, her friends. Okay, so we need to figure out what, remember we have our equation y equals mx plus b. Okay, remember this is your slope, and words that mean slope are per, each, okay, all of those words that mean multiply because those are being multiplied together. And then b is your y-intercept, or your initial value or starting point. Okay, so if I read through my story, the first thing it says is 40. Okay, and it says that that's how many she won. So that's her starting value. Okay, so that would be her B. Okay, and then it says she gave 2 to each of her friends. Okay, so 2, since it has each there, that is going to be the slope. However, if she's giving them away, it means we want to subtract 2. Okay, and I'm going to kind of switch this equation around because I want to subtract 2 from each of her friends. And then the variable they used for friends, or that slope instead of x, they wanted to use f because they're talking about her friends. And then it says she only has 8 remaining. So that equals 8. So the whole thing, that's what she ends up with. So if we look at all of our options, you should be able to find it. This is solve. Okay, so we have 40 minus 2f equals 8. Draw your line down the middle. Okay, first thing we want to do is get rid of the constant, or do the opposite of addition and subtraction. So 40 is all by itself, so what is the opposite of that? So we're going to subtract 40 from each side. Okay, so that gives us negative 2f equals negative 32. And the last step, we want to divide by negative 2 on both sides. So So that gives us F equals 32 divided by -2 is 16. So she has 16 friends. Or you can just put 16. And I think that's why the F helps, because then it kind of reminds you, oh yeah, I was talking about the friends with my variable. The next one, it says you are driving to visit a friend who lives in another state, 700 miles away. You are driving 65 miles per hour, and you have already driven 375 miles. Write an equation to figure out how much longer you have to drive to get to your destination. So again, we have our y equals mx plus b. Remember, each, per, okay, this is your starting, or initial, or constant. Okay, and this is your total, right? Or your final amount. Okay, so like last time was her final amount of bouncy balls. Okay, so if I look through, this is very similar to our Disney story problem that we worked on last week. So it says 700 miles away, you are driving 65 miles per hour. So per hour, ding, 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 that has to be my slope. So we want 65x. And now I just have to figure out, do I want to put 700 as the total or the constant? And same thing with 375. Okay, and since it says that they've already driven 375, that'd be where you're starting. Okay, that'd be your starting amount because that's what's already happened. Okay, so 375 would go over here, and then 700 would be your total, because that's how far away this friend is. So looking through all of the options, oh, and they use H for hours. So it looks like B is our option again. I'm going to go ahead and snag this so that I can solve it in the second one. You draw your line down the middle. Want to subtract the 375 from both sides. So we're going to subtract off what they've already driven. And only figure out how much we have left to drive. So that would be 325. And then the last step, we want to divide by 65. And 325 divided by 65, H equals 5. Okay, so that's 5 hours. Next question, we want to solve for X. Okay, this one's a little complicated, but we got it. Okay, so I always start with drawing the line down the middle. Okay, and the first step we want to do is to distribute. Okay, and we actually have 2 distributions. Okay, but if you're writing out your steps, number 1 is always distribute. Okay, so 3 times x is 3x. 3 times -1 would be -3. And then we have -5 times 6, so that's -30. -5 times -2 is a positive 10x. And that equals 2x minus 2. Second step for solving equations should always be combine like terms. Okay, so on the right-hand side, we have 3x and 10x. So we can combine those, and that's 13x. Negative 3 and negative 30 is negative 33. 2x minus 2. Then we have to get the variables on one side. So move smallest x. Okay, so negative or 2x is smaller than 13x. So you need to subtract 2x from both sides. Negative 2 equals 11x minus 33. And we got to go ahead and add 33 to both sides because we want to undo addition and subtraction next. Okay, which gives us 31. And last but not least, we need to undo multiplication and division. So we need to divide by 11. So that gives us x equals, and that's not possible to divide. So we're going to go ahead and leave it as 31 over 11. Okay, so that's the hardest your problem can get. So as long as you follow these 5 steps, you should be fantastic. Some of them you have to skip if there's not like distribution or if there's no combining the terms. There's some things that you can skip if the problem does not have it. Next problem. Stephen wants to buy a $530 bicycle. Stephen has no money saved, but he was able to deposit $35 into a savings account he receives each Friday. However, Stephen can buy the bike. Before he can buy the bike, he has to pay his sister back $65 that he owes her. Write an equation for the week's W. Stephen will need to deposit money into a savings account before he can pay his sister back and buy his bike. So we want to think about that. Y equals mx plus b. So even when I was reading this, I already saw 35, ding, ding, ding. It says each. So 35 is your M value. Okay, so that would be 35 W. Okay, and we know the total. They tell us his total is 530. Right, and then it says he owes his sister. Okay, so if he owes his sister a certain amount, that would be his starting, but he's already $65 in the hole. That would be minus 65. Okay, because if he owes her that, I would have to subtract it. He's $65 in the hole. So if we take that equation, we can solve it. And I'm going to have you guys solve this one on your own, because I think you guys can do that. And last question, which equation is the identity? Okay, so identity is when something equals itself. So looking at this first one, well, already we can tell there that doesn't equal itself. There's a positive 3 and a negative 3. Okay, these two 3's work out. And honestly, this is how I would set this problem up. Okay, because there's 3x or 3y on both sides, would cross those out, and that would be 3 equals negative 3. Okay, that's not the identity. The next one needs a little bit of work done to it before we figure it out. So if we look at the next one, we have some distributing to do. And I am so sloppy, I didn't put my line down the middle in the first one. Okay, first thing I want to do is distribute. So -2 divided or times W is -2 W, and -2 times 4 is +8. Bring that 6W down, bring everything else down. Then you need to combine your like terms. So on the left-hand side, we have 5W and -W. On the right-hand side, we have 6W and -2W. So 5 minus 1 is 4W plus 8. And 6W minus 2W is 4W and also plus 8. Right? And we can already see right there, they're equal. Okay, so it has to be that one. So identity just means that everything, both sides are the same. Go ahead and submit that, guys. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys next week.